Kemp with the People Not Titles podcast. I'm standing out in Schaumburg, Illinois. It's a beautiful day outside the hallowed halls of Key Mortgage Bank. Today we're going to talk to Key Mortgage Bank President Steve DiMarco. Steve started his career many years ago as a commercial lender, then became a residential mortgage broker, then worked his way up into leadership with his company, and eventually in 2008 took the helm of what was then a $100 million business in bank loans, and grew it to now where it's over $1 billion in volume this year. And today we're going to learn from Steve just nuggets about his career, what's important for salespeople, what's important for leadership, and all kinds of good stuff. So we're glad to have him on the People Not Titles podcast. Let's go. Well, hello everyone. This is Steve Kemp with the People Not Titles podcast. Today, everyone's in for a real treat. We have the president of Key Mortgage and a good friend of mine, Steve DiMarco. Steve, welcome to the podcast. We're excited about having you.
I'm excited to be here. I'm a little nervous, so go easy on me.
We'll go easy. So hey, so first off, Steve runs a big mortgage concern stationed out of Schaumburg, but we're going to let him talk about that. So Steve, let's just get into, how did you first start, what was your beginning in the mortgage business?
Well, let me take you back. When I was coming out of school, I took advantage of the University of Illinois, my alma mater's career placement services. And there were two. I was a finance major in the School of Commerce and Business. It was a really great education and a cool place to go to school. I found myself being drawn to banking and finance, right? And it's no shock that the finance companies would talk with the finance guys, but also the retail industry, which was filled with very vivid professional managers and predominantly female, and it was a very interesting environment. But banker's hours are a whole lot easier than a retailer's hours.
Yeah.
So anyway, I was a commercial lender in the first incarnation of my career,
okay.
Which was pivotal to my education because I had a business card that said banker, and I was engaged in the selling of the bank's products, which was kind of a new thing, a new frontier for a bank.
Okay.
Bankers used to inherit accounts, and this was at a dawn when banks had to go out and differentiate their offering and grow their book of business. And
so you were getting, were you getting checking accounts, or you were lending?
No, I was a commercial lender.
Wow.
I was in that division.
Yep.
We would sell cash management services to remove the float from a retailer's chain of cash, trust services, investment management services, and warehouse lines of credit, capital lines of credit. I was a jack of all trade and master of none. Really just finding opportunity, but the benefit to me as a young professional was sitting across the table from C-level operators and asking them what they did to get where they were at and what they were going to do to stay there. And
so you were already thinking in your mind, I want to be you?
Well, life to me has always been an adventure of, okay, why am I here? What's there for me to learn?
Yeah.
Okay. And so that's how I approached my job. And in that way, in the get to know in a relationship, because it's a human that's across the table, right? That has trials and issues themselves, right? But are coming into work, and generally the folks I were talking to had gray hair, so they'd been there a long time, and there's a benefit to wisdom, and it was helpful to me to get an MBA and that kind of street knowledge as opposed to go crack the books any longer after college. Look, I found the mortgage business.
Well, so to press a pause on that, if you're a young person, and what I hear you saying is, okay, I'm at a job, but I'm not just here for my job. I'm here to absorb, I'm here to learn, I'm here to...
Well, it's got to be interesting, right?
Yeah,
I mean, if you're going to do anything long term,
Yeah.
there's got to be more than, I think I did my job today, so I'm going to go home.
I signed up two people for a loan, and there you go.
I guess, look, man, if you're getting to know somebody, it is about taking an interest in them. So there was no faking it, okay?
Absolutely.
Seriously, what was your first job, right? What we're doing here right now,
Yeah.
let me learn.
Yeah.
And look, I was wet behind the ears. I was just out of, college, and yet was a good communicator, an honest communicator, and I think that never came off phony, and it allowed me to just get a lot of people's perspectives on their business, why they were successful in it. These are all things that are important from a lending standpoint.
Yeah.
So it was an awesome first job.
Was anyone intentional about taking you under their wing with that group, or was it learn on your own, catch what you can?
That environment was a new frontier, and so we really kind of relied on each other as a sales team.
Okay.
And isn't that interesting? So many pursuits in life are an individual pursuit, but when it's done in a team environment, there's measurement, there's accountability, there's pride in riding with a particular posse that's like me. These are, I don't think now, and I don't think going forward, there's room for islands, okay? The Steve or Steve Island, okay? I mean, this is about bringing unique ability in tandem with others to yield a collaborative result. That does impact, right? Everybody gets their own paycheck at the end of the day. But there are no islands.
Yeah.
And
More so now.
or that island is not going to be productive as somebody who's running in a team environment, sharpening the saw,
Yeah.
climbing to the highest heights, right? That doesn't mean that everybody, it becomes a killer.
Right.
But collectively, you work towards individual goals that, when measured together, are greater
Totally.
than if it's just this individual over here and this individual over here. That's how I feel about it. That's how I feel about what Barrett and Warner is all about, okay? That here in Chicago at this particular time, we have an incredibly refined network, sociality, right? Where you can insulate, we speak the same language. I know what that new to the company, 6 months ago, title examiner is all about, because I know the other people in the culture that he or she's running with, right?
Totally.
And so, agents, think about it, there isn't anywhere you couldn't get into this city, right? Think about how vast the network is, 2,600 agents.
Yeah.
The title attorney network, 50 plus loan originators, right? The society that we run with and that we impact. It's limitless opportunity for us because of that network. And so I'm grateful for the interactions of people working with people.
Totally.
But now, taking you back to
how'd we
where
get
I
to-
was,
Yeah, so how'd you get into the mortgage business?
I did a dangerous thing for a young professional. I compared W-2s with a guy I went to college with that went the consumer banking route, not the commercial banking route. And consumer banking, as you know, has a lot to do with mortgage finance.
Yeah.
Okay? And he had gone and learned the mortgage business before the days of being licensed and such as a loan originator, which is a requirement of law now. You had to go somewhere to teach you how to do this, right? And, those that succeed really well in the mortgage business are really the technicians that are helping, like a financial advisor would on the asset side of a personal balance sheet.
Yeah.
They're working with the liability side, right? How important is mortgage financing when you're contemplating the biggest purchase of your life, or refinancing it and saving money? Oftentimes the technician, that loan officer who's seen so many different transactions come through a system, right, knows how to make your presentation, we'll call it an application, sail through the system, so that, because the housing system's pretty much nationalized at this point, right?
Yeah.
Check the boxes. Do you
Here's what you
report
get.
enough income?
Yeah.
You're in or you're out. Well, unfortunately, it's not all that easy. There's a lot of things that impact one's credit circumstance, right? But we still want to get those people financing. And so what I learned was mortgage originations was a very noble profession. My father was a physician, right? He had a shingle. He was an entrepreneurial guy. He happened to work on the south side and did a lot of pro bono work, right? We have an office full of clients waiting to receive services. Half of them probably could pay and half couldn't. But he went to work, right? And he served those clients with his skill. He was a licensed physician, right? And I learned, when working with mortgage finance, and especially with this lens of a financial advisor on the liability side, it was equally a career of integrity, okay? And also shingle based, in that when we're consulting with folks, right, we're helping them to obtain something that we're not necessarily empowered to give them, right? We don't have the credit authority to say, you get, right? We've got to make sure it hits the muster of Fannie or Freddie or that jumbo investor, right? And I'm telling you now, rest assured, don't let anyone worry, you're going to get that house in 30, 45 days. And then all of a sudden it's like that you're like a duck pedaling underneath to make sure that transaction doesn't get derailed, that you're able to bring the financing, right? That the negotiations between the seller continue to not be an impediment to closing the transaction.
So you see this guy's W-2 and you're like, okay, what am I doing?
Well, yes.
You're impacted by your dad helping.
And as a professional salesman, what I realized was we're dealing with the decision maker in a home purchase, right? As opposed to me waiting for the board of directors to decide if my lender, my employer was going to get that $30 million credit package, which might take 18 months. And so what I called the gestation of the sale was a lot quicker in mortgages.
Okay.
You mean if I close this thing in 60 days, I'm going to receive commission on this transaction? And that's in fact how the industry is built.
So Steve, I was in the mortgage business, and my motto was, we don't sell airplanes. In other words, this is not 4 years down the road, someone comes in and says, I'll take the Boeing.
Yeah.
This is 30 days from now.
That's right.
I get a check.
That's right. That's
So,
right.
And
that means that you did a job well done and you delivered for a client. It shouldn't be so crude.
It's
okay?
very
But
measurable,
in the
very
world of
quickly.
competitive,
I agree with you, yeah.
entrepreneurial type sales activity, selling your shingle and maximizing your opportunity, that reward gets you out of bed.
Yes.
And continues working on relationships that are going to liberate
And it's
referrals.
measurable,
and such.
short-term, long-term.
Yeah, there's a lot of reasons not to come out on a rainy day, right?
Yeah.
Holy cow, I did blow that deal. I
Yeah.
overpromised and now I'm under-delivering.
Totally.
And dealing with those issues. So anyway, the long and the short story of after about a 4-year career as a commercial lender, I made a switch into mortgage originations. And this was in like 1992, okay?
Wow.
And back then, not everybody understood that they could refinance the interest rates that they had received in the previous cycle, which were in the teens.
Yes.
Okay? And that was the bonanza that no doubt you came to join when you got into the mortgage business around refinancing. Okay, and there was purchases all along the way, and a purchase transaction is a far different animal than a refinance. Okay, I mean I need to say that because it seems obvious. It's not. It's a way different thing. There's different partners in each transaction, and a purchase certainly is on a tightrope, right? Because moving vans on the driveway, buyers just flipping out and buying, seller flipping out and buying into a new property, timelines. Okay, in an emotional play. But the coolest thing to me was that it was a commodity. So a mortgage loan is a commodity. At the end of the day, for a good population of the borrowing marketplace, they're going to be entitled to the best interest rate that's out there. The barriers to entrance, frankly, to get into the mortgage business are not so great, whether it's as an individual, right? I can take a new job, or I get into starting up and selling loans to Fannie Mae, Freddie Mac, or to lenders that sell to Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac. Not all that hard.
Is it tougher now than it was then?
Probably easier now. Back then, it took a lot more capital. And one thing that was very true, and you know this, was that back then there was very little money in each individual mortgage. And it wasn't until the last economic explosion, the Great Recession as we're calling it now, 10, 12 years old, that margins came back into the business. And that was driven primarily because of lack of capacity. If you're a mortgage shop living on the movements of interest rates to drive refinances into your shop, very hard to manage to that. If I've got to hire today and fire tomorrow because I don't have the refinance application, very difficult way to run in the mortgage business. And so actually the industry became, even as it was even growing to a nationalized housing finance system, really, because that's almost what we have now. It had gotten to be, a specialist play. There was limited capacity, and that bolstered margins. And I think with this movement towards zero in the interest rate market, and the anticipation, the ability to forecast likely when refinance waves are going to come will drive down margins in our business and further commoditize it.
Why was that attractive to you that it was a commodity?
Because I knew I could differentiate. A simple thing, right? Everybody needs my medicine, okay? Every home buyer, anybody who's got an interest rate higher than the market needs my medicine. So it's up to me then just to differentiate my style of selling and delivering it.
It wasn't he has
So
a
it's up
better
to
widget
me,
than me,
right?
or she has a
I'm
better
not working
widget.
in a company who's got a better mortgage.
Yeah.
It's the same mortgage you get anywhere, generally the same price. How am I going to differentiate myself?
And how did you that?
Honestly, by doing what I said I would do, by meeting the expectations that I sold, okay? And by God, when I wasn't able to do that, whether it was my fault or another circumstance, a partner in the transaction, communicating up front and early as to the challenges.
You didn't hide.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
It's a pretty basic step.
And were you a big producer right off the bat, Steve?
You know, I was our #1 producer for our very significant company the first full year I joined.
Wow.
Yeah. And
Congratulations, that's
the
great.
funny thing is, we talk about, whoa, excuse me, we're falling off the edge here. It was a different game then, okay? You did the volumes, now we're starting to see volumes per producer approach what they were back then. But remember, there was no, the value wasn't in as they are today, meaning the stakes are higher, okay? But yeah, and the way I did that, was incredulous to me. There was abundant opportunity. These were back in the days when somebody answered your phone and they took a note if you were with somebody on a paint piece. It was a call, right?
Yeah.
And they put it on a spindle, right?
Yeah.
And I was flabbergasted being new into the mortgage business and new with this new employer, which was an S&L that's sold and been renamed, rebranded. But really excellent organization that I also was instrumental in helping to build, and also, moving into managerial roles and ultimately director roles. I forgot my train of thought, but
you were talking about the producers, the difference of the volume, and how the
so I did $113
messages.
million worth of volume, which today would be like, man, you're like the king of the industry.
Wow.
And, the game has changed.
And this was refinance and purchase.
It was, but the entirety of the game back then, 80% of the industry,
That's
90%
That's
of the
a lot.
industry was refinance.
Yeah.
People were writing the purchase situations that they had made in higher interest rate environments. And that persisted for like 15 years.
Yes.
Interest rates moved from, when I got into the business, somewhere around 9.5% to, 4%, something like
4s
that.
and
Maybe
5s.
4.5, right?
Yeah.
And then really, since the Great Recession, interest rates have kind of fluctuated in a range. Now we're, with the greater economic stimulus that's put into the market, interest rates, like the 10-year Treasury, will continue to move towards zero, and mortgages ultimately do follow that trend. So while we're, at today's point in time, talking about generally a 30-year fixed conforming, there's no APR attached here, so there's no mortgage sale intent, about 3% on a 30-year. I think it's very realistic that within 18 months we could see interest rates in the very low 2s, and then within the next 3 years, the potential for a 1-figure leading that off, which means that we'll see refinances, and I think we'll see a pressure on margin for mortgage lenders. There's no doubt more capacity is coming into the game, and so we have to compete harder for that consumer. While there's more opportunity in terms of gross borrowers out there, the business changes a little bit and refocuses on refinances
So
for the next 3 years.
So getting into your beginning the sales career, differentiating yourself, I hear you saying, do what you say you're going to do. Is there anything else? You're sitting down with a young salesperson. What are you telling them?
Well, first of all, I think everything follows from behavior. Okay. And I don't care what your job is. If you're selling, if you're telling, if you're doing at your desk, it comes down to behavior. And so it's more than, so if you are a salesperson, that means, okay, what's the formula? We see this with some of the very best real estate agents out there. What's the formula? I gotta talk to 5 people in my sphere today that are in need of mortgage financing, in need of a new real estate situation,
Some people can do it in 3, some people need to do 10.
Whatever
it
the number is.
Yeah, you need to do it.
If you've identified it through a business planning process, right? Either by you're emulating somebody else's success or trying to create your level of success, follow the damn plan.
And did you have a plan then, or did you make up your own plan?
Every day.
Wow.
Every day I followed a plan.
What was your daily routine?
As a seller?
Yeah, as a seller.
So first of all, I structure my days into 3 type situations, okay? So there are focus days, okay? So whatever my role is, I'm 80% engaged in that focus. If I'm selling, that means for me, selling mortgages, that was talking with partners that could refer.
You weren't driving grandma to the airport.
That's right.
You weren't,
that's right. So,
reading the newspapers.
Consulting with a client to help them with mortgage financing, because that's what liberates the dollars, right?
Yeah.
Until somebody takes out a mortgage, everything else is window dressing, right?
Yeah.
And so those are focus days. But I realized, look, it takes a tremendous amount of confidence to be engaged 80% of your day in a focus day, not being derailed by real life situations, okay?
Yeah.
Because this is a focus day. These are the behaviors. I got to get through my 10 calls, 5 calls, 3 calls, whatever it is.
Got it.
And frankly, there's going to be things that derail. So it takes steely concentration to remain in focus. But then there's got to be buffer days where you deal with these kind of problems, right? Mm-hmm. And I've learned not to mix the two. The error of frustration might come off.
I'm going to take care of business, or I'm going to do some admin work, whatever.
Think about it this way. Front stage days, when I'm out acting, and backstage days, when I'm practicing, or I'm cleaning up the set, or bringing on new characters I want to introduce right on stage, okay?
Yeah.
And then the third day is the greatest day, and that is a free day, and I've learned to protect my free time, okay? And so I get really deliberate. I know how many free days I'm going to have this week. I know how many focus days. Today is a buffer day for me. This is why I'm dressed this way.
Yeah. What does a free day look like? When
for Steve DiMarco?
No, when you're a salesperson. What does a free day look like for you? Do you even have them back then?
Oh gosh, everybody's got to have interests outside of work or they're in real trouble.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay, when I meet somebody who's all about 7 days, 24/7,
That's a recipe for disaster.
You can't do that long term.
Yeah.
You and I have been at this for, I'll celebrate 30 years in the mortgage business here, next year, okay? You can't, if you don't have outside interests and pursuits, forget about it. But by the way, you're going to be the most boring person anyway. Nobody's going to want to connect with you, right? And so what does a free day look like? Everybody's is going to look different. But for me, generally it involves being outside, okay? Yesterday was a free day for me. Now I worked. I didn't work on mortgages or my business. I worked on my yard, okay? But that's therapy to me as well.
Different,
and being able to lock out the other challenges that I knew I'd come back and face today.
You had that early on, because I can tell you as a young salesperson, I realize now that I look at it and think, I thought I was working 7 days a week, but I was really working about 4 and pretending the other 3, or just having really limited return on the other 3, but feeling guilty about taking time off because you didn't reach your goal.
You were in mush, right?
Exactly.
And then when you said, all right, well, that's an interesting, listen, I wasn't always right? There's all kinds of voices in a young professional.
Yeah, everyone,
And not everybody's there to help, and who's my friends, and who's my mentor, who's walking in my shoes.
And
I've gotten to the point now where I try to define my day tomorrow tonight. Okay, so I'll go to bed tonight thinking about the top 3 objectives for tomorrow. Okay, and for me, in my role, it's leadership and development stuff. Okay, so it's not quantity. We're going to close 10 loans tomorrow. Okay, that's not what I'm worried about. But I am worried about maybe a conflict I have for one of my racehorses. Okay, whatever that conflict may be, right? And trying to find a way here, a vision here on how I'm going to implement tomorrow to make that a non-issue or to move the needle on the issue.
That's powerful.
And I've gotten pretty good at it over the last 3 or 4 years. But listen, I didn't have the benefit of that before, so it was so much reactionary to the point that I remember saying to my wife, "Look, I got to get to work." "Well, Steve, it's a Saturday." "Well, I've got 3 customers coming in, and I know what that's going to mean to me when I successfully serve them. But we got to start with serving. So get your butt out of bed, make that appointment, be on time, give good counsel, right? Because that's what we're doing. We're working on the liability side of it. balance sheet, not on the asset side. Give good counsel, because this really does matter to people. Help that guy get what he wants, and I'm going to get what I want. There's a couple other things that I've learned, okay, and I think about really a lot now that we're in the COVID bunker, because we're in the COVID bunker. This is about people doing business with people. Internets and all that kind of stuff, and digital communication.
Still humans.
It is, and it's the know, like, and trust that comes from people employing their unique ability, their licensed talents, whatever you want to call it. And I think that's the way it's going to be until civilization is no more. We talked about no islands in the past, okay, collaborations. Mortgage needs title like title needs real estate, you see? And they get it. It's about the professionals that operate on a team to make things happen. So the know, like, and trust of people doesn't go away. No matter how I might be introduced to you, I'm still going to sniff you out and say, does this guy talk the language I expect him to talk?
Yeah.
Do I believe that he's going to make these promises? Because, boy, I've been fooled so many times before by slippery talkers.
Yeah.
And so thank God for all of us that that's the case.
Yeah.
And that we don't move to the point where our commodity requires a commodity sale. Because remember, everything we're doing, you're doing, real estate, agents, I mean, it could be characterized as a commodity, right?
Absolutely.
But yet we can differentiate ourselves in this commodity sale by things like doing what we say, delivering what we promise, being people of our word, actually being an expert, having experience to know how something's going to work or not, right? And giving good counsel around it.
All right, so I'm tracking with you as a young salesperson. You were intentional. You budgeted your time. What about goals? How'd you set goals? Did you set them?
So whether I've been in management or leadership or sales, I still equate to quantity. Okay, and when I don't, it's not all about money. Okay, that's not a purpose, material things. Okay, but if you're running a company, profit's a pretty good scorecard, right?
Yeah.
If you're running your own enterprise, if you're a commissioned real estate agent, you want to make more, not less, right?
Yeah.
And it's okay to measure return on investment. If I can get done in 3 hours what it takes somebody else 3 days, well, that's my unique ability.
Right.
Okay.
Yes.
And so for me, it was pretty simple. I was I grew up in Oak Brook, Illinois, after moving from Beverly on the south side of Chicago at 6 years old. All right, I'm a product of suburban Chicagoland. I had everything I needed as a child growing up. I suppose I had some adversities that, we talked about whether you're born with the drive or it can be taught, and I absolutely think that it can be taught. Now, nobody taught me that. Life taught me that. But in the years that I've spent managing and developing over 500 salespeople, I know it can be taught. You can teach people the benefits of engaging in a behavior. When they see the results, they see the proof. Oh, put in the yield, out comes the result. Put in the response, out comes the yield. And so you can teach people how to at least act like they've got that drive in them, okay, until their behaviors solidify in them and it all aligns and it becomes innate, or they think it's innate.
Was there a time where you, you're producing, there's a lot of autonomy to producing, you answer to yourself, and now all of a sudden you have leadership, you're responsible for other people, other people are counting on you for a job. Is there a time where you had to make that transition mentally to say, okay, I'm stepping into leadership, I understand what I'm leaving behind, because there's some beauty to the individual salesperson that just does their thing, gets their paycheck, and so sometimes there's even a dip in income initially.
Okay, so I've always found the greater goal. Okay, if that was the case, and you're right. You could take a step back. So if your marker was money and all of a sudden you're making less, then you're thinking you're doing bad. No.
Yeah.
You certainly have to adjust your perspective. But look, for most of the entirety of my career, I managed salespeople until really the last 12 years.
Yeah.
And so you've got to take that same interest in that individual who might be a commissioned salesperson, right? To the processor, the underwriter, the closer. You still want to help them get out of the job, their career, what it is that you need them to keep coming back for, right? You got to have them come in tomorrow, help them get what they want. And overwhelmingly, it isn't about money, okay? It is about reasonable workloads, okay? And
Quality
expectation, right. Yes, being able to raise a family.
So have you ever sat down with have you ever had a top producer come to you and go, oh, I want to be a leader, and you go, oh, not you?
Yes.
Okay, why?
I have. Why have I had to say that?
Yeah, well, what made you think, no, that's not going to be?
Because I didn't think they had a big enough empathy bone.
Okay. Which part of that is the beauty of the individual. I mean, from an empathy standpoint, the driven salesperson is very much a get out of my way, I'm going to get mine.
And
help
why
you
aren't you getting yours?
Yeah, why aren't you getting yours?
Not let me help you get yours,
Yeah,
right? There's something wrong with you making me better than you.
Yeah.
And so those are natural tendencies,
Yeah.
okay?
And it's not necessarily bad.
So how do you do that without offending somebody?
Yeah.
Asking them to just take stock of what energizes them in their current day and what de-energizes them in their current day. And you can pretty much help them to see where they should be based on answering those two questions.
Okay,
Think about it this way. If you don't like talking on the phone, regardless of who you are, and I make you talk on the phone, are you going to be energized or de-energized by that?
De-energized.
Okay, so I'm either going to have to show you how fun talking on the phone can be, or what results talking on the phone can be really near term, or you're going to say, I'm de-energized, I'm not doing this anymore.
This is not a natural fit.
Right.
So you're actually saving a person from themselves in some way
Exactly.
by talking about it.
And I think that's the biggest secret of all.
Yeah.
Know what you like to do and know what you don't like to do. Stay in your unique ability and hire folks to do those tasks that you don't like to do, recognizing that there are people that want to do all kinds of jobs that you don't, and in fact will excel at them and want to do increasing more amounts of them.
So that
So there's the know, like, and trust again. Okay?
Yeah, that is so powerful. You know, one of the things, so you're in your mid-50s or getting there, and you're a person that still comes to work every day, vibrant, excited, and I think part of the secret is you found something you like to do, and if you didn't like to do it, you didn't do it for a long period of time. As opposed to, I've got this degree, I gotta do it, mom wants me to do it, dad wants me to do it, whatever it is, you have found joy in your work, which is a blessing and a gift.
I'm grateful for that, right?
Yeah.
Because how could you do this for as long as we all do this?
There's parts of your job you don't like every you know.
But I made I made a promise to myself.
Okay.
If there's jobs I don't like that I know I have to do,
Yeah.
and there's way more jobs I don't like than I know I don't have to do. Okay. So I'm not doing what I need to do if I don't hire somebody to do that work.
Yeah.
That loves to do that work, and that's how we build Key Mortgage.
Okay.
And so that's why there's not a lot of conflicts and struggles. No, I want to do that. That's the dirt I want to shovel.
Yeah,
and I'm going to
right.
shovel it
Let
to
me
new
step out
heights.
of the way.
Exactly.
Great.
And boy, am I glad you're shoveling that dirt, because I knew I couldn't do it myself.
Okay, so some people may not know that Key Mortgage is owned by Baird & Warner, but that's not your limitation. What did so 2008? What did Steve Baird say to you that had you flip over and go, okay, I'm in?
Actually, the reason I came to Baird & Warner is because it was the perfect opportunity. The market had changed. We'd gone from this low profit, high margin refinance world. I don't think I'm talking out of school when I tell you that Steve had a broken mortgage company, was losing plenty of money, a ton of money within the,
Which
by any
was
standards.
losing money in 2000.
Yeah, but okay, I think more here. There
Yeah.
was some basic broken things here.
Yeah.
Okay, that I knew I could fix. I knew that I was inheriting a company at the bottom.
Yeah.
Okay, and we
Only
only
get
could
better
go
from there.
up, right?
That's
So that's a
great.
great way to
Good
go.
for you.
And that's why I came here. Also because as I identified the problems, even as an outsider looking in at that point, I knew that I could fix them. So there was some confidence there. And in fact,
Experience.
Listen, this company, I didn't do this all myself, but
Yep.
we turned profitable within the first quarter. Okay, so it's after the first quarter, so fourth month, this Key Mortgage was turned profitable for its corporate parent, okay, its partners in business. And we pretty much have been every month since then. And so remember, that's the scorecard of a business at ever increasing levels. So we were a little itty bitty company. We closed $100 million that first 12 months. We'll close $1.2 billion this year.
And not just serving the Baird Warner.
No, listen, the way we built listen, our most important partner and customer is the Baird Warner real estate agent, period. Okay?
I hear that.
But about a quarter of our units closed in any given year, and this year we'll do 3,500 units, will come from agents that don't wear the black and yellow uniform. And then about another 35% of our business is refinances, unexpected, falling from the sky. It's not really, we mine them.
Yep.
We want to keep a customer for life. And I guess that's one point I want to make. What differentiates Key Mortgage from the sea of lenders out there is that we built this company from the start for the customer's experience. Because we knew when a customer was happy, they weren't emotional, yelling and screaming, no, I can't get an approval, no wonder I can't close to a real estate agent, a partner who might have referred us that client. When we knew the customer was happy, agents and loan officers would be happy. And so Key Mortgage's identity is shaped every day in coming here, being ready for the closing that was supposed to close, we said it was going to close in 30 days. Today's 29th day. The money's going to be there tomorrow because that was our promise to the customer. And they're going to report back they're happy with making loan officers and partners happy. And so that's how we've done this. And when that's your focus, you'd be doing a customer a disservice if you didn't offer them a refinance opportunity. There's no silver bullet in what we do. Okay, we just perform better than our competitors. We hit dates. We wring emotion from transactions better than our competitors. But to focus on that, you've got to keep. It's not about employees. It's not about paychecks for producers. It is about that happy customer bringing another one, and that is wanted by agents all across the globe, right? So. The Keller Williams agent wants that level of service, and you better hit the dates and wring the emotion out just like you did for your number one client. And because of that, these partnerships that our loan originators, the commission salespeople form, tend to grow, and not necessarily within the affiliation.
Okay, this is great. So you were a top producing salesperson, then you started leading salespeople, then you led a company, and now you're leading Key Mortgage. And so now you're a leader of leaders, right? And so what are you looking for in a leader? What's important to you? What do you see as the critical ingredients to leadership?
Integrity, right? Because that's will get people to do what they say they're going to do, right? They've got some level of integrity inside. A pliable mindset. Okay.
Not stuck.
Okay. This is the only way to do something.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm open to trying this new route. Experimentation leads to brilliance. Sane. That's a scary word to use. Okay. But to come in and act on the stage.
You just lost half the group.
Every day. think about consistency and how that important that is in the relationships of customers and employees.
Yeah,
right.
Reliable. This not just a freewheeler.
I'm in it today. I'm out tomorrow.
Yeah. Up and down. Emotional.
Yeah. I mean, no, you're not gonna lead people along a vision line. Okay.
Yeah.
And remember, that's what we're trying to do. Here's where we are. Here's where we want to go. Hey, team, come on! Don't you want to go here? Let's go here. And when we get here, this is what the pasture is going to look like. It's going to be green and beautiful.
Yeah. So if the waves are hitting the boat, I want to look at the captain zone, and I want to see the captain with his hand on the wheel.
It has always been my style to have people. I want to be an example for work ethic. Okay, that's why I come in every day.
Mm-hmm.
I expect people to do what I do, not say what I do.
Mm-hmm.
Fair enough.
Mm-hmm.
And you get leaders like that. Pretty much everybody's rowing in the right direction, in the same direction, at the end of the day.
So looking forward, Steve, wrapping it up. You see the mortgage business getting better. How do you see the landscape changing?
No, I don't. I don't want to be Debbie Downer, but
You talked about interest
The
rates
good news
before. I don't know if
is
we
the
caught
industry
it,
goes back
Yeah.
to what I know, and that's what we started with, where tremendous overcapacity with the lenders in the market. Everybody faced with lower margins. Okay, and this can impact service delivery, right? If you don't have the money to pay for the legions of people it takes to get a deal done, even the technology that might help the people get their work done, you're going to get wiped out. And so we're going back to what you and I knew to be the mortgage business 20 years ago and before, okay, where there's booms and busts in volume and booms and busts in the fortune of those that ply the waters. We're going to see ever increasing competition from those that think that they can aggregate clients, borrowers, paying customers, using technologies and medias as opposed to people that can instill know, like, and trust in a phone call. And so we are going to have to make a decision of who we're going to be as when Key Mortgage grows up here in this new market. But it won't look a lot different than what we have today, because I believe certainly in a real estate transaction where a loan officer is in from the very beginning of somebody thinking about buying a house to when it closes, that it will require the top echelon mortgage sellers in a marketplace, and Key Mortgage is going to be a home to those guys.
And that, the customer experience and the relationship has been the golden thread between 1980 to today, hasn't it?
It has, and we're, when the refi guys are too busy to call back an agent's business, Key Mortgage will shine even more, right? We're seeing it right now, and that's record capture rates. We see the competing mortgage lender surveys where even really good competitors are doing way less, historically less percentages of our business. That's not all because we are amplified and good. It's because they got busy doing other things. They got distracted.
Okay, so if I'm a mortgage guy sitting at home or mortgage gal sitting at home going, well, maybe I should consider Key. Why?
Ultimately, the way we differentiate ourselves in recruiting is twofold. To an existing producer that can generate their own business, they need what we have, a platform that delivers, okay? All the time, every time. The amount of eggs we break, even in these crazy times, is so limited. Our competitors are scrambling eggs, okay?
Yeah.
What does a loan guy doesn't want conflict of? I can't, look, loan officer, I know you said this is supposed to close next week, there's no chance of it.
I can't do it.
So unequivocally, what somebody who can generate their own leads wants is performance, and we do that better than anybody else in this market, in this region. Real estate agents help hone our performance, okay?
It's a tough group,
Tough group,
Yeah.
okay? But look
They
what
have
we've
high
got,
standards.
look at how they bent the steel.
Yeah.
That's what they want. Now, we've got another thing going on, because we believe we've got to perpetuate the industry and our company, and that is we do a goodly amount of recruiting people from places like college campuses, from outside of the industry.
Fresh young talent.
Teaching them the business, because we have a treasure trove of knowledge here at our disposal. I'm not the only 30-year veteran at Key Mortgage.
Yeah.
And we found a way to offload this knowledge onto new people, and I can point to a number of folks that couldn't spell mortgage 2 years ago that are creating a heck of a career for themselves. So that's exciting. That's why people come to Key Mortgage. Look, all behind that are processes and systems. It's people talking, it's identifying problems before they're public problems, right? And making the factory perform like a good factory should, so that customer experience is differentiatable. When you do that, people flock to you, and that's what we're experiencing right now.
So what does Key look like 5 years from now that's different than today?
We're gonna be a whole lot bigger. We'll be closing $3 to $5 billion worth of loans. I think our number one client for referrals will still be the Barrett Warner real estate agent. That's the factory, that's the lab, man.
Yeah.
You make that agent happy, and you can make anybody happy, right? Remember, what we do isn't just make agents happy, we deliver for their clients. So I think we're going into a cycle here where interest rates are going to drop over the next 18 months to 3 years, sparking a lot of refinance opportunity for mortgage lenders at Key Mortgage. But I think purchase is going to also equally remain robust. We've seen that coming through the covert bunker here. There's migration trends that impact our business. We'll take advantage of that. But this will go back to something that we're familiar with, which is lots of customers in big volumes and performing for them. and it will feel to the consumer even more like a commodity. You're already seeing it. You're getting 4 letters at home a day from the public recorder system. You need to refinance. Everybody's going to get into the mortgage business. Quicken Mortgage just went public. They didn't do anybody a favor in primary originations by showing how profitable they are. They're making billions of dollars in operating profit a quarter. It's a lucrative business, and there's going to be a whole host.
A lot of eyes on it right now.
That's right.
Okay.
And so it's a normal cycle. This is what happened even before I got into this business in 1992. And so we're going to go back to the beginning.
And
the good news is,
more
we've been there. We
more
want to do that.
states, more states, Steve?
I think so. You know, we want to go where the markets are good and we can get good people. I don't think it's anyone's surprise the average purchase transaction is smaller in Peoria than it is in Chicagoland. That doesn't mean we don't want to lend in Peoria. In fact, we do a lot of the lending in Peoria. But there are good markets and there are bad markets. We happen to enjoy a good market here in Chicagoland.
Yes.
And we're kind of the darlings of it. And so it's kind of like, let's keep acting on that stage.
It's nice to be a local
there's
expert.
Yeah, in numbers, listen, we've got 40 loan officers here in Chicagoland, and then in the periphery of Chicago, another 10 as we sit. That by the end of the year, we'll have 12 more here working in the Chicagoland market. Maybe you won't see them all inside of Barrett Warner offices because mortgage guys' businesses are different, just like real estate agents' businesses. Okay.
And if you're
But
good at
we've got
find it.
4 guys already here since we've gone into the COVID bunker. We've got 4 guys in Wisconsin, Madison, Racine, and parts in between. We're taking on a branch in Valparaiso. And so there'll be more professional loan sellers joining Key Mortgage because they want what we have to sell, and that is delivery and a platform. But there's also another thing going on. Okay, we are winning, and that I guess makes it a little bit easier. This is a team people want to ride with. And even those that, we talked about it earlier in the call, the individuals still identify with the posse. And a great individual isn't going to ride with a crappy posse, and vice versa. And so
people feel good about being part of your
yeah, I think, you know, you can do the math, you know, on averages of what guys produce, but there'll be an exponential amount, 3 times more originators here, and we'll probably be working throughout the region from here on down to Texas, who knows. But, you know, the great thing is with technology, we can manage teams of salespeople remotely, easier than ever, and keep that culture and that bond. We've learned that through this COVID time. But there is a need, I think, to centrally process, and so that it makes it just feel like it's just down the block. You know what I mean? All the paper comes through here so that we can control it and control the customer experience.
Great. Well, Steve, I want to say thank you.
It was a lot of fun, man.
Yeah, you gave me more than I expected in the sense of just hearing your whole career journey, and I'm sure whoever is listening is going to learn from a beginning salesperson to a person who wants to lead a group to a person who wants to lead a company. So,
I enjoyed it, man.
Yeah, thank
and
you.
I enjoyed working with you, buddy.
Yeah,
It's been a great run.
with you. Okay, thank you.
Super.